Hello everyone, it's David from Automotive Press. I have a 2023 Honda HR-V, which is substantially improved over the predecessor, and there's a lot to like, but there's also some stuff that needs to be improved. So let me go over 7 things I like, 7 things I'm not too crazy about on the new Honda HR-V. Now, before I get into 7 likes and 7 dislikes, what you do need to keep in mind is that Honda is taking an interesting strategy with this new HR-V, because in Japan they're selling a smaller version of this called a Vezel, and elsewhere like in China and also in Europe, this is labeled as ZR-V or ZR-V. So Honda has a different naming schemes and different configuration based on which country you live in. But for now we're going to focus on the North American version of the HR-V, which is substantially bigger. It's also now built in Mexico. So let's go over what I like and what I'm not too crazy about, starting with the first thing that I really like, which is the steering feel and the handling. In this regard, the HR-V is substantially better than most of its competitors in this price range because the steering is very accurate, it tracks straight, and it's precise, something that Honda has become really good at. Obviously because it's based on Civic as well, because Civic has a really good linear steering feel. So if there's one really outstanding thing about the HR-V that is very different from other competitors, including Toyota Corolla Cross, I would say it's the steering feel and the accuracy and the good feedback. The second thing I like about the HR-V is the engine. Yes, it is only 2-liter in terms of displacement, no turbo, no hybrid, and no plug-in hybrid, and it only has 158 horsepower, but it's extremely refined, smooth, and it's one of the best engines out there in terms of reliability. The third thing I like is the roominess and the fact that it's much bigger than before. In fact, it's 9 inches longer and almost 3 inches wider than before. So it's actually a larger type of vehicle, and you get a lot more space front, back, and cargo space. The fourth good thing is the interior design. It's heavily borrowed from Honda Civic, as you can tell from the mesh and also the pop-up infotainment system. But everything is really quick. When I tried to pair my Bluetooth, it was one of the fastest pairing I've ever seen. The technology is very much solid. The dash is easy to see. It's not fully digital, but it's actually a really good, comfortable ergonomics as well. And all the buttons, switches, and everything is very appreciated because Honda did not move everything into digital format. So we get real buttons and actual stalk to move forward and backward, and the floating design looks good too. So the interior is perhaps the best thing about this new Honda HR-V. The fifth good thing is related to previous ones. There is total comfort in terms of seat, a good support system, and the whole interior feels like a much more upscale vehicle than what it's supposed to be. There's still more things I like about the HR-V. The sixth one is the resale value. I think because all of the Honda products are being excellent in the used car market, especially if they are SUV, I predict HR-V will have a solid resale value, especially compared to competitors from Korea such as Hyundai and Kias, which have great products, but they tend to depreciate quite a bit more. And this one, being so refined and smooth, I think will really be well accepted in the market. So I think the resale value will be really good. The seventh and the final thing I like about HR-V is that it offers many different configurations with a wide range of pricing. Yes, it's not cheap anymore, especially at the top end, but you can get a basic model which is quite reasonably priced, and you can get front-wheel drive or all-wheel drive in a variety of different trims and options and features. So unlike some manufacturers which tend to put all the packages into 1 or 2 trim levels, at least with this one, you have a choice of what you want for the right price. So as you can tell, there are many things I do love about the HR-V, but there are also a number of things that frustrates me on this new HR-V. For example, this one is built in Mexico, as you can tell by the door plate on the bottom here. And there's nothing wrong with that, in the sense that many Mexican factories produce really high quality products. But on this particular one, when I look at the alignment of the panels and I look at some of the paint finish, it's not quite there yet. Maybe because this is a brand new model, but you can tell this part is a little bit misaligned in terms of the gap between the hood and the front fender. And as I run my finger through, I can tell there's a little bit of misalignment, let's say compared to a Toyota product. So over here on the top of the roof, quite a bit of misalignment. And this entire rear hatch is also a little bit misaligned because the gap between this side and that side is different. And this whole thing is sunken in a little bit because it's a little bit higher here than here. But on this side is higher than that side. And all these things can be adjusted at a dealership, so it's not a big deal. But if you're asking me, is the whole body integrity as good as something from Toyota. I would say in this particular case is not. But who knows, this is still the first year and they will get some of their bugs sorted out, and it should continue to improve because it is Honda after all. But that is my first complaint, that the overall quality of the body, fit and finish, not quite there yet. The second complaint is something that's subjective, but to do with the styling of this vehicle. I'm not quite sure what Honda was thinking. It kind of looks like a Ford Escape, and maybe there's some reminiscent of Tesla or a Ford Mach-E, like electric car look and feel, but I'm not crazy about it. Have to admit, the similar version of this vehicle in Japan is sold as a Vezo. It is a bit smaller, but that Vezo looks fantastic in terms of both the front and the back design. But this one, it just looks a bit awkward. It kind of looks like a fish in the front. Maybe it's supposed to look cute. And in the back, it's actually okay. It's better than the front because it's more conventional looking. But I can't really say this is progressive, trendy, or amazing looking in terms of exterior design. To be honest, from this quarter here, it just looks like any other SUV. And maybe that is the point. Honda wants to build something that's very conservative because it is sold worldwide. But I wish they took the design features of the new Vezo that's sold in Japan, because I think that one is better looking. The third thing I want to complain about is engine. Not so much in terms of refinement and smoothness, because that is already world class. But with only 158 horsepower and 138 pound-foot of torque, it just isn't sufficient to go uphill or to try to pass a car on the highway. Now, in this market, this is kind of an average number, so it's not necessarily a bad thing, but I wish Honda would have taken a little bit more step forward and give it a bit more power and torque. The fourth thing I'm not too crazy about is the fuel economy. Now, it's not bad at all, and it's reasonably comparable to other competitors, but it's not as good as I thought. Partly because it doesn't offer a hybrid, and it's not available in plug-in hybrid either. But I wish that Honda focused a little bit more on the fuel efficiency, which could be resolved with future application of the hybrids. The fifth complaint is to do with the pricing. Now, if you live in the US, there is a number of affordable versions of the HRV available, and therefore the price is quite competitive. But here in Canada, the most expensive HRV is in the north of $37,000. And for that price, you can even buy a RAV4, perhaps even the hybrid version of RAV4, and creeping up to the Honda CR-V pricing area. So I know that they're trying to move this upscale, and therefore it's reasonable to increase the price because this whole thing is actually bigger. It's no longer a subcompact SUV. But I think they've done a little bit too much in terms of stretching the price. The entry-level models are actually quite affordable still, but I wish that the Honda worked on the pricing a little bit more, or at least give us more features and options for the same price. The sixth thing you need to keep in mind is that while this is much roomier and bigger than before, I feel like Honda has kind of cheapened out on innovation. So for example, we don't actually have a center armrest of any kind, so there is no cup holders except for the door here, which is a bit odd for a car in this price range. And what we used to have before with Honda HRV, which is a magic seat that flips up to make the floor totally flat and accommodating, is gone as well. So I feel like they've maybe not put in as much magic touch as they have in the past in order to make this more of a conservative and a traditional SUV. And for me, that's a bit of a disappointment. The seventh and a final thing I want to point out is the fact that this model does not come in hybrid. It really needs one because it needs extra power and also to maximize fuel efficiency. Now, similar versions of the HRV sold in Asia does offer hybrid, so I am sure that is coming. But we do need that very soon, Honda. That's something that competitors such as Toyota is offering right now, and I think that's something that's really needed on the HRV. Overall, this is a lovely vehicle with lots of positive traits. It's a much bigger, more comfortable, smoother vehicle. So you are getting almost a compact-sized SUV with a subcompact pricing and value, but it is still missing a few things. I really hope Honda will work on this, because once Honda had a chance to maybe work on some of these things, add the hybrid, add a few other things, this one could become one of the best compact or subcompact SUV out there, because it's truly a lovely vehicle to drive. What do you guys think of the HRV, especially when compared to Toyota Corolla Cross? Do you like it better, or do you like the Corolla Cross better? Personally, which one would I take? I would say the driving character is better on the HRV, so I'll probably take this for driving character reasons, but when it comes to overall packaging and pricing and efficiency, perhaps the Corolla Cross is a little bit better. So I'm interested in knowing your comments. If you can subscribe or give me a thumbs up, that'll be great. Until next video, I'm signing off for now.